Hope everybody had a great evening last night. Some good meals, good conversation, good fellowship. Well, here we are. After 6 years of not convening our lay leadership and our professionals together, we've now entered day 3, our final day together. Yet, it's also a new beginning. Thank you for being here. By choosing to be with us, each of you as leaders have made an investment in the future of your Jewish community and the JCC movement. Our intention during this time has been to sharpen and advance our individual skill sets, which in turn will strengthen, enhance, and transform our outcomes. Your takeaways help grow your JCC or your camp and improve your local Jewish community. Strong local communities create a more united North American Jewry. And with our friends from JCC Global present, together we synergize relationships across continents to build upon common ground. Our impact starts locally, but emanates to far greater reach when we stand together and recognize that this thing of ours, we know as the JCC movement, is a powerful platform, greater and with more potential together than the sum of its parts. As leadership vested in building our platform, your voices and expertise are vital. And your input this week has and will continue to provide invaluable learning for us. As ambassadors to and from your local communities, your perspectives and insights uniquely represent the needs of your community. We hope that you will be returning home with new relationships and a deeper understanding and appreciation of the needs, challenges, and opportunities of all our communities. Collectively, we strengthen our JCC brand equity to lead and connect the JCC movement. I'd like to take a moment this morning to acknowledge several special guests who have joined us today. Please join me in welcoming the Consul General of Israel to the Midwest, Yinam Cohen. Deputy Consul General Delphine Gomberg. And the Consulate's Director of Public Diplomacy, Rini Schreiber. Thank you for being with us and for your support of our important work, both local and continentally. Now, within my morning remarks, let me wax and wane, or wax poetically, or wax on, wax off, to weave around our JSummit themes: the power of our movement, the power of partnership, the power of leadership, and today's session, the power of peoplehood. You know, I often get asked, how did you get here? So I'm a JCC brat from San Diego. And you know, the JCC has always held that special passion for me and created so many positive memories throughout my life. Early days at preschool, summers at day camp, tween and teen experiences, and long-time participation in those JCC basketball leagues. Then came the rest, like arts and culture, JCC Maccabi, seniors, budgets, Jewish film festivals and book fairs, leadership and capital campaigns. What I love best about JCC is that we offer so many touch points along the spectrum of life and the on-ramp of choice. And these touch points leads to connections and relationships that transform lives. As JCC leaders, we never know whose lives we are influencing. And it's our responsibility to identify that next generation of leaders and to tap them on the shoulder to join our work. You know, these stories are the very fabric of our movement because there's nothing more powerful. People become ambassadors. They bring in new members, program participants, volunteers, sponsorships, underwriting, and community connections. You know, for me, that story came from a long time ago, and it came from the world of basketball and through volunteer coach Max Shapiro, who at that time was a former scout for the old San Diego, now Houston Rockets, NBA basketball team. I was an overweight teenager playing at the old 54th Street JCC, and I played on a traveling team because I wasn't good enough for my own high school, which won the city championship that year and sent all 5 starters to college scholarships. But I played on our JCC traveling squad. We competed against boys clubs, other YMCAs, rec centers, and other regional JCC teams. And this was way before JCC Maccabi was created. Anyway, back to Max. Max was our coach, and he was disciplined in John Wooden principles. So what a mentor. And he helped me to grow as a player, to get my butt in shape, but also provided that inspiration and positive impact upon me that not only could I be a great teammate, but I could be better individually as a person. Stupid as it is, that was my hook. And very briefly, you know, I'm sharing that. But yet we all know of others. Those stories of friendship bonds between families that were established in our preschools, the day and overnight camp connections, or that emotional touch that comes from one of our films or our authors, or that interaction that comes from one of our staff members. When it happens, watch out, because it creates this special bond between individuals, families, and the JCC. Little did I know back then on the basketball court with Max Shapiro that that tap on the shoulder would lead me to become the chair of our movements board, that I would call myself a product of the JCC movement, and that would become my #1 give back organization in my volunteer work and my philanthropy. I started locally at the remarkable Lawrence Family JCC on the Jacobs Family campus in San Diego, which is currently run by Betsy Lynch, a powerhouse executive who has also served as a member of our JCC Association of North America board and is an important voice within our movement. In 2004, I joined the JCC Association board, and I gazed upon our continental movement with its vibrant colors and the global networking opportunities, and I formed a new understanding of our work and how we serve the field. It was interesting to contrast my roles from a different vantage point, with different lenses, wearing different hats, that of the local JCC where I came from, other JCCs across the platform and the North American landscape, and that of the JCC Association. Over the years, I've seen firsthand and have appreciated the values JCCs bring to their membership and their respective communities. You know, but my professional background and the variety of roles I've had have somewhat paralleled those within my JCC world. You know, I came from a sales organization, you know, sold toilet paper and cleaning supplies and romance toilet bowl cleaner. But, you know, we built a very successful business over a 75-year career for the family. It's not me, it's 75 years of the family. But the idea of moving things forward is you need to connect with people, share a vision, the goals, and accountability for products, programs, and success. You know, we develop our people to be successful. Yet at times we have to make course correction or make changes or choices for change. And, you know, over the years I've witnessed my good, bad, and ugly in leadership and with people. But one thing I've learned is that if you are in relationship with individuals, you can move mountains and accomplish many things, but you can also have those difficult conversations. But if you have it, you can be so constructive. You build mutual respect, you move forward with the idea of personal growth development and outcomes. So we speak of JCCs as the town square, a haven for the social, physical, cultural, and educational experiences of coming together and providing a welcoming space for creative evolution, connection, collaboration, and growth. We celebrate family, foster health and wellness, embrace traditions, create friendships, and expand cultural horizons, building stronger Jewish community and more vibrant Jewish life. You know, you've heard throughout these last couple of days some of our numbers. You know, I'll share them again. If we repeat them 21 times, they become a habit, you know? But we're the largest, most diverse platform for engagement of local Jewish communities on this continent. No other Jewish organization rivals our size, scope, and reach. You know, across our 172 JCCs and overnight camps, we reach, you've heard this number, 1.5 million people, 1 million of them Jewish, 500,000 non-Jewish, our allies who choose to come to JCCs. 100,000 campers and staff at our day camps and overnight camps, the largest network of any platform. 35,000 children in our early childhood programs. But the one other interesting number is we employ almost 50,000 full and part-time and seasonal staff. We are the Jewish community's largest employer by far. And we also have about 3,000 lay leaders on our local boards. It's an amazing set of numbers that are there. And we are this dynamic, ever-evolving network, as we all know and learn and continue to learn and grow. But it's of note, you know, it's been 6 years. And since we last gathered at our movement, 2018, approximately 1/3 of our execs in the field have started in their roles. That's quite the transition, new opportunity. And we have even a higher percentage of board chairs and volunteers who've come into leadership since then. And as you all know, JCC Association of North America is experiencing a transition in our leadership. We are thankful for Doron Krakau's leadership during his 7-year tenure, and now under the helm of our immediate past chair and my fellow San Diegan, Gary Jacobs, we have begun our search process to identify our next CEO. We have engaged with our search committee the nationally recognized Heidrich and Struggles within our process, and we've established a timeline for our decision, hopefully by the end of the year. You guys have all made and shared the love throughout this week to Jennifer Mamlet, our acting CEO, for leading the organization during this interim period, and our entire leadership staff, leadership team, and our staff for their continued efforts. I think we can give them another round of applause for this. The mission, the vision, the values, and our business continues. You know, we appreciate our team. We're working hard to move our efforts forward. Now, in a short while, I'm going to be teeing up Zack Bodner to lead us in on our theme of the power of peoplehood, C3, and building an important narrative on JCC's relationship with Israel and our oneness as a global people, and how the JCC movement is the essential driver for our local communities and as a North American collective. And after that, we'll go into some workshops for an hour or so, and then we'll be excited to come back, and we'll be honored to have Naftali Bennett, former Prime Minister of Israel, address us. But for me, the power of peoplehood is at the heart of who we are. So I wanted to take a couple minutes to spotlight a couple of our peoplehood efforts within the movement. The first one, very familiar to all of us. That's the JCC Maccabi Games and Access. You know, from my initial exposure to it some 20 years ago, the JCC Maccabi experience, as I like to call it, because it is an experience, has held a special place in my heart. I'm sure you've all felt that too, if you have been exposed to witnessing the opening ceremonies and seeing the parade of flags from so many Jewish communities around the world. Here, one gains a special and true sense of peoplehood and the realization that you are part of something bigger. The goal of the JCC Maccabi Games is to contribute to the maintenance and enrichment of Jewish identity in youth and the development of leadership through healthy competition and sportsmanship. Since its inception, going back to 1982, the games have touched more than 500,000 lives, and it's probably even more than that when you consider not only the athletes, but the communities and the volunteers and the fans and the families who come to visit, the participation, the sponsors. But learning the values of teamwork, integrity, cultural pride, connection to Israel, community service, and lifelong friendship are all very positive attributes of our efforts. 3 years ago, we added access as an opportunity for JCCs to engage teens with disabilities and their families in the magic of JCC Maccabi. Access provides a life-changing global Jewish peoplehood experience that strengthens their Jewish identity and introduces these teens to peers around the world. And as you know, we announced that Access is now a permanent fixture within the JCC Maccabi experience, so we're very happy for that. It gets hot under those lights. In cooperation with Maccabi World Union, Maccabi Canada, and Maccabi USA, we create a global experience that provides a springboard for local JCCs to create year-round engagement. I'd like to take a moment to recognize Deb Lichtenfeld, the head of development for Maccabi World Union, who has been with us in proud partnership throughout the conference. Deb? But together, we make sure that beyond the games, JCC Maccabi is a springboard for cultivating those lay leadership relationships, supporting fundraising, building awareness of JCC programs and services, expanding membership, and positioning your local JCC as a leading agency in the community. As we know, after a pause during the pandemic, JCC Maccabi returned in 2022. Hey, shout out to San Diego. And has continued to grow under the leadership of Senior Vice President Sam Cohen, the wonderful Sam Cohen. Sam has led in close partnership with a strong lay committee, which is now chaired moving forward by Jeremy Samuels from Houston. And until recently, the one and only Lisa Brill from Atlanta, who could not be with us due to illness. So we appreciate those efforts. But I'm proud to say that today, JCC Maccabi, we have a strong pipeline of future hosts, increasing philanthropic investment, and a strong strategic vision to continue what is one of the strongest Jewish peoplehood initiatives of our time. And now I'd like to touch on another program at the heart of our peoplehood initiatives, and that is JWB, the Jewish Chaplains Council. For some in this room, I'll bet this will be the first time you may be hearing about JWB. For others, it has been the beneficiary of your dedicated and meaningful support, and we thank you for that. And still, for others, JWB has been a source of confusion, with even some questioning why it lives within the JCC movement. Well, if you don't know, the JCC Association was founded in 1917. So we're 107 years old as an organization. But our roots, we were founded as the Jewish Welfare Board, which was set up and established and founded to support Jews in the United States military who are going off to war. Many decades later, we were rebranded as the Jewish Community Centers Association of North America. And JWB is not only the forerunner to JCC Association, but they are also a founding member of the USO and the driving force behind the creation in 1946 of the World Federation of YMHAs, which is now proudly JCC Global. JWB is also the only all-embracing agency that cares for the welfare work of military personnel regardless of denomination, and the only organization that endorses chaplains from all streams of Judaism. Today, JWB is led by Rabbi Larry Bazer, who is here with us today, and alongside JWB Committee Chair Extraordinaire Ruth Fletcher from Silicon Valley. They are leading to ensure our movement through the Jewish Chaplains Council maintains the distinction of serving the roughly 10,000 Jewish men and women and thousands of veterans who serve in our U.S. Armed Forces and their 5,000 plus family members and dependents. JWB endorses Jewish chaplains to the Department of Defense and the Department of Veterans Affairs, training, supporting, and augmenting their resources and advocating on matters of policy. Imagine you are a young Jewish soldier or sailor and deployed for months at a time. What would it mean to you if you had an organization like JWB caring for your spiritual needs? What would it mean to you to have a Jewish chaplain deployed with you to lead holiday and Shabbat services, or heaven forbid, a Kaddish minyan when needed? Like JCC's, JWB serves all Jews and even non-Jews, and that is why it is not only a historical imperative that JWB remain part of our movement, but it is also a moral imperative. Jews in the U.S. military are from our Jewish communities, and it is our obligation to serve them and to support their families back at home. This obligation cannot be defined only by geography. I'm very proud that through programs like JWB Passport and Operation Summer Camp, we are meeting this call, and I thank those JCCs and overnight camps who have embraced this effort with us. The power of JCCs, the power of JWB, the power of Peoplehood. Partnership, leadership, peoplehood, more than the themes of this conference, they reflect the essential ingredients of movement building. And that leads me to my final few words about our Stakeholder Partnership Initiative, the ultimate effort to recognize we are stronger together and that we all have a stake in the outcome of our work. Now, my board is aware that I have these obscure musical references that I sometimes make into my messaging, so here comes another. My intro today was a piece of music to about a 15-minute song called East Coast Racer by a band that none of you have probably heard of called Big Big Train. The song shares a story from July 3rd, 1938. A streamlined locomotive called Mallard set the world speed record, which still stands today for steam trains, traveling at 126 miles per hour on a straight downhill stretch of the East Coast mainland in Great Britain. For most people, the story would be about the record-breaking speed. For the band Big Big Train, the story in East Coast Racer is about the hardworking people that poured themselves into the project several years before to make it possible. The designer, the assistant, the fireman, the driver, the community of engineers and railwaymen who all played a part in the making of a legend. The song reminds me that something extraordinary happens when people come together in common cause and purpose and pour their hearts, hopes, dreams, passions into achieving something once thought impossible. And now I work us back into our stakeholder partnership model. We have our own cast of characters. In our committee chair, the wonderful Sandy Carden. Consultants, Brian Hayden, along with Jeff and Carol Cohen. Our JCC professionals, Jen Mamlett, and our CFO, Michael Feinstein. And that community of engineers and railway people that come through. Our committee, our execs in the field, our additional external partners, and now all of you are a part of that. It has been, and it continues to be, a very thoughtful and meaningful discovery process to create a roadmap, to provide us with direction in that intersection that you've heard between the building of the systems for keeping JCCs and the association aligned here in North America, the JCC Association value proposition, and a new revenue model. Again, I will state, something extraordinary happens when people pour their hopes, hearts, dreams, and passions into something. Our stakeholders believe in a centralized organization for our movement. Putting it into a win-win-win outcome is a work in progress. As you know, we've been utilizing this convening opportunity as another feedback loop for thought and input from both our lay leadership and our professionals within the movement. We intend for 100% engagement of voices and ultimately 100% shared participation within the JCC movement. If you've not already provided your voice or sought out additional input or attended, I encourage you to join one of the final breakout sessions that will immediately follow today's session for us. JCC Association of North America, we work in concert with and on behalf of JCCs to move our field forward. Throughout our time together, we've spoken about partnerships, people, programs, and promotion and what we do. Those unifying themes throughout the conference: power of our movement, power of partnership, the power of leadership, the power of peoplehood. Ladies and gentlemen, that's a lot of peeing. So let me add one more, and that's the power of us. Let us seize the opportunity to elevate and to amplify our JCC movement in North America and achieve the picture of success we all desire. So now let us be embraced by the breathtaking lyrical finish of East Coast Racer as we embrace our role in creating the future of our movement. It won't be the song, it'll be my words. From this far away now, she flies with them into sky, into history, into legend. She flies. Thank you. Thank you very much. For my next song, I have the honor of introducing one of our movement's great leaders. Zack Bodner has served on the JCC Association Board of Directors. He founded the Z3 Project and is the current president and CEO of the Oshman family JCC in Palo Alto, California. More than any of those titles, Zack is also a great friend and an inspiring leader. Please join me in welcoming Zack Bodner.
Good morning. Welcome to day 3. How's the summit been for you? The JSummit, excuse me. How's the JSummit been? Yeah, good? Good. You feeling good about these last couple days? Feeling good about what we've learned? Feeling good about our friendships that we've made? Feeling good about this movement, this moment? Yeah? Look, we've had 3 incredible days. The first day we're talking about the power of partnership. Yesterday was all about the power of leadership. And today, the power of peoplehood. But it begs the question, what is peoplehood? What is Jewish peoplehood? Well, I'm going to answer a question with a question, because that's the Jewish way, right? What is Jewish? What is this thing we call Jewish? Is it a religion? Is it a nationality? An ethnicity? Is it a moral code? Is it a culture? Is it all of the above? Because we know we can be an atheist, or we can pray 3 times a day, and we're still Jewish. We can keep kosher, keep Shabbos, or eat the bacon double cheeseburger, and we're still Jewish, right? Our families could have come from Eastern Europe and spoken Yiddish, or from Saloniki and spoken Ladino, still Jewish. Because at the end of the day, it's all of the above. It's all of these things. You mishmash it all together. That's why we call it a people. That's what this beautiful thing of peoplehood is. And that's why this movement is ideal to propagate the most important thing that we do, which is this Jewish peoplehood thing. Because we know at JCCs and JCC-affiliated camps that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you believe. It doesn't matter what language you speak. It doesn't matter where you were born, where your family came from, which foods are Jewish in your world. It doesn't even matter if you're Jewish at the end of the day, right? Because we understand whether you're J-curious, J-adjacent, call it what you want. You're part of our mishpacha. You're part of our family. You're part of the peoplehood. Let me tell you a story to illustrate exactly what I mean, and it will resonate with just about every one of you in this room. A couple years ago, there was a woman on our board of directors who was Japanese, is Japanese. She liked to call herself the Japanese shiksa. That's what she called herself. She never converted to Judaism. She considered herself part of the people. Her husband was the Jewish one. two Jewish parents, but he didn't care. It wasn't his thing. She was the one who made Shabbat dinners. She was the one who made these great Passover meals with these Japanese undertones. She was the one who schlepped the kids to Hebrew school. She was the one who was supposed to chair our trip to Israel in the summer of 2020, which of course was canceled because of COVID. She just had a couple years ago, she had her first kid's bar mitzvah at the JCC. Next month, she has her next kid's bar mitzvah at the JCC. She rolled off our board a couple years ago. She went on to another board in the community, the board of the Jewish Day School. Her kids don't go to school there. But she's a part of our mishpacha. She's a part of our family. That's what this is all about. And that's what JCCs and JCC-affiliated camps can do. We bring the folks together. But now here's our challenge. We're divided as a people. We're a little divided. We've always been. Look, this isn't anything to Shrai Gevalt about. Nothing to get really upset about. We've always, since, Jacob and Esau didn't get along so well. Joseph and his brothers, it goes back, right? The Sadducees and the Pharisees, not such good buddies. Hillel and Shammai couldn't even agree on how to light Hanukkah candles. Come on, right? I can keep going. In our darkest hour during the Shoah, you had Jews who thought the best way to save lives was by fighting as partisans in the forests. And you had Jews who thought the best way to save lives was serving on the councils. Didn't get along so well. Didn't like each other. Even in the founding of the Jewish state, the Irgun and the Haganah, the two underground armies were shooting at each other. We've never gotten along, people. Not a reason to freak out. But we do have to figure out how to create unity, not uniformity. Unity, not uniformity. And it can't only come from our moments of trauma. Okay, there was a moment, a split second after October 7th, when we did come together. And Michal Biton, who you will hear from momentarily, wrote an incredible piece in Sapir called "That Pain That You're Feeling, That's Peoplehood." We put all our differences aside for a second. It didn't matter if you're Orthodox or secular. It didn't matter if you're a Republican or Democrat, left or right. It didn't matter if you're a Trump lover or Trump hater, Bibi lover or Bibi hater, bacon lover or bacon hater. Nobody really hates bacon, right? They just choose not to eat it. I'm just saying. For a moment, all these differences were set aside, and we came together. But that's already in the rearview mirror. There's already the fraying is starting to, it's already happening, right? I'm not saying anything that's a surprise to you. What we've noticed in our community, and I think it exists elsewhere in North America, if not the world, as I look at my friend Smadar, who represents JCC Global, is there are 5 trends that are taking place right now in the Jewish world. The first trend has been well documented. A lot of it, it's called the surge, right? People have come out of the woodwork. The Sheryl Sandberg effect, the holy shit, anti-Semitism isn't in our back. We have to deal with this. And I want to help, and I want to do something. It's the surge. It's those folks who are saying, Hineni, Hinenu, Jen. And we have to capitalize on that. But we have to recognize there's also another trend, which is the folks in our community who are like, can't we just go back to normal, whatever that is, if we can? It's the folks in our community, and this is real, who want to send their kids to JCC schools or JCC camps and say, does it always have to be all about Israel and the hostages and the war? And this is real. Don't judge these folks in our community who feel this. Can it just go back to being about Jewish food and Jewish music, David, and Jewish movies and Jewish holidays? Does it all have to be about Israel all the time? And they're embarrassed to say it out loud because there's a shame affiliated with that, because it bumps into the third trend, which are the Israelis. And those of us who have Israeli family, Israeli friends, the Israelis, not just in Israel, but the Israelis here, the Israelis in the diaspora, for whom every single day is still October 7th. They have not moved on, and they can't. There's no PTSD. It's still trauma. They all know somebody who was killed, who was taken, who was murdered, who tortured, or have a child who's serving in the IDF, or they know somebody up north. By the way, 80,000 people no longer living in their homes up north. That's not talked about. They all have somebody for whom this is very personal. So for the Israelis, it's real. The fourth trend is what I'm calling the shtetelizing, especially of the North American Jewish community. Right? Jews from other countries, we have friends here from Mexico, friends here from Serbia, they'll understand this because in foreign countries, the Jews haven't had their sixth sense bred out of them. They know when there's danger on the horizon. For American Jews who are second, third generation, we've had it bred out of us. But now we've been woken up. And so the shtetelizing that's happening is because members of our community are no longer trusting their non-Jewish friends. They can't understand how they're not getting the sympathy. They're betrayed by their friends who they thought were allies who are walking away. They're buying guns. They're enrolling their kids in Krav Maga classes. And I'm not just talking about Jews in Texas. These are Jews in liberal Northern California buying guns. I'm telling you. The shtetlizing is real. And then the fifth trend is to move to the far left, the progressive move. And I'm not talking about the anti-Zionist Jews. We could talk about that. Chaviv and Michal will get into it. I'm talking about the Jews on the left who care about Israel, who know that Israel was wronged on October 7th, but maybe they're like, I don't know if the way that this war is being fought by the IDF is right. I'm not so sure about Bibi. There's a lot of deaths in Gaza. I'm feeling a lot of pressure from my friendship groups. I don't know how to hold both these things in my hand at the same time. There's that element, that trend in our community. All 5 of these trends, they're about to smash in together in the 1-year anniversary in a real way. They're about to smash into each other. And that's why what we do is so vital. You just heard David talk about JCCs as the town squares. We are the town squares. We have to find a way to bring everybody together. Unity, not uniformity. That's the first principle of the Z3 project. Let me tell you what that means, what that is, and why so many members of our movement, folks in this room, are being a part of that. We started this 10 years ago as Zionism 3.0, Z3 for short. Zionism 3.0 because we're in the third era of Zionism. Zionism 1.0 was pre-48, Herzl Zionism. If you will it, it is no dream. We need our own state. It came about, 1948. That was the beginning of Zionism 2.0, the upbuilding of the state. If you don't have the chutzpah to leave the diaspora and come, you better support us unequivocally. You better send your checks. It was the diaspora of the rich American uncle. It was the diaspora of, you have a stake but no say. It was the diaspora, it was the Zionism, the Zionism of diaspora negation, right? It was almost like a little judgy towards those who stayed there. But guess what? I don't know, 10, 20 years ago, something shifted. And we're now on the cusp of this new where there's 2 centers of Jewish life, 2 strong centers of Jewish life, with all due respect to my friends from around the world, North America and Israel. 2 strong centers of Jewish life making incredible contributions to the future of Jewry, and we have to stop just wagging our fingers at each other. We have to stop talking past each other. For too long, North American Jewry has been saying, Israel, you better get it right with Palestinians. You're not offering us non-Orthodox Jews the respect. What are you doing with your Israeli? There's been a lot of judgy. And meanwhile, Israelis are looking at us going, you're not even going to be Jewish in a generation. Assimilation, intermarriage, anti-Semitism, right? We've been talking past each other. So this notion of, let's create a third era of Zionism, a recognition that both of these centers of Jewish life have so much to contribute. How do we do this in a constructive way? That's what the Z3 project is all about. And it's based on these 3 principles. One, as I said, unity, not uniformity. Don't need to agree, never going to agree. Number 2, engaging as equal partners, bringing Israelis and diaspora Jews together to have this conversation. No more talking at each other, but talking with each other. And third, a diversity of voices. We have to be comfortable having a lot of people in the room with whom we disagree. That's why when Amitai, our Z3 director, who's here in this room, and I were working with Lisi and Mark Young and the folks to put together the JSummit, we insisted on having on this panel today a diversity of voices. So you have a woman, you have a man, you have an Israeli, you have an American, you have a Sephardi, an Ashkenazi. We packaged a lot in these 2. They're incredible. You're going to hear a lot of difference and a lot of similarity. But we have to have a diversity of voices around the table. And that's hard. But I'll end with one last story before I introduce our panelists to give you a sense of how we can make it work. We've made it work. We've struggled. We haven't always gotten it right. But this last summer, as we were preparing for summer camp, I knew we were headed for a potential problem unless we dealt with the Israel issue beforehand. We had over a dozen shlichim, Israelis who were coming to serve on our camps, many of whom had just gotten out of Gaza, serving in the IDF. We had a Nova survivor coming on our staff. And I had a bunch of pink and purple-haired college students who were just coming off college campuses, who, if they themselves weren't challenged with the Israel question, they had friends who were in the encampments. I said, how are we going to deal with this? They're going to be living together for the summer. I said, let's sit down, let's have this conversation. So we spent hours, and we sat down with them, and I started like this. I said, here's the deal. I am under no obligation to protect free speech here. Okay? This is not a public space, not a public university. We will not protect hate speech. Sorry. There's no anti-LGBTQ speech. There's no anti-black speech, no anti-immigrant speech, no anti-woman, anti-Muslim, no anti-Jewish speech here. And anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism. So that's where we start. There's the boundaries. Now let's have at it. As Rachel Fish says, let's create brave spaces where we disagree and we duke it out. But hate will not be permitted. Now, that still leaves a lot of questions, and that's why we're going to have two incredible, brilliant minds help us think through some of these questions today. Because just like these folks might be working at your camps, working at your JCCs, living in your community, children or grandchildren in your families, sitting around your Shabbos tables, we have to ask these questions like, at what point are they no longer invited to be a part of that? Are there red lines? Are there tent poles after which people just kind of put themselves out of the tent? What does that look like today? And how can we redefine this notion in this moment?